Hey, everybody, welcome to State of the Steelers. Today, we're talking about Mike Tomlin's press conference, kind of summarize what he said, and give our little take or touch to it as well. Please hit that like and subscribe button and ring that notification bell. That way, you're notified of all our daily segments or weekly lives. With that being said, I'm Daniel J. This is State of the Steelers, and welcome to the Huddle. Mike Tomlin met with the media today and talked about the previous game against the Baltimore Ravens and the upcoming matchup against the Cleveland Browns. Before we get into that, I just want to say, my thoughts and prayers and our family's thoughts and prayers are with Damar Hamlin. It was a scary situation last night. I'm sure many of you guys were watching the game when he went down and went into cardiac arrest on the field. Our hopes and thoughts and prayers are with him and his family and his extended family, which is his team and friends and family, and hope for the best and a 100% full recovery for that young man. He's a Pittsburgh native and well known in the Pittsburgh community, and so uh, you know hopefully he recovers 100%. And so Mike Tomlin met with the media today. He spoke about the game against the Baltimore Ravens. He talked about their endurance, the game plan that went into it, and he talked on how the Steelers be able to maintain possession of the ball, allowed for the defense to not be fatigued. He also mentioned that being an issue against the Browns earlier in the season, and that when they played against them, the offense not being able to maintain possession allowed for the defense to become fatigued, and that became a huge component or factor into that matchup. Before we get into everything, we'll talk about the injury status. Right now, the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking pretty healthy going into this game. And there was something that was brought up during the matchup against the Baltimore Ravens, referencing the offensive line, that this team, I believe, is the only NFL team that has had all five of their starting offensive line play all 17 games or 16 games. It should be 17 this upcoming week, as long as there's no setbacks from here to there. All the games up to this point this season together, they've started it every single game. They've been collective, and it's really showing on how their production on the field is coming out. When you look at the offensive rushing game up to this point, since the bye week, that's been more of the identity of the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's been a strength. They've been able to control and possess the ball and move the ball down the field. With that, also, you look at the pass protection against Baltimore. Kenny Pickett had quite a bit of time to throw several times. Now, when they blitzed him, it became a little bit of a different situation. He did get pressure. One thing I've said in the post-game show and since then is that Kenny Pickett does an amazing job keeping the ball alive and looking down the field and moving in the pocket. Does he leave a little bit early sometimes? Yeah, but his eyes are down the field, and he's looking to make a play with his arm, not so much with his legs. I like what I'm seeing. That feeling he's going to get about the pressure is going to get better. I anticipate some of those. He may have thought that there was a drop in protection or maybe even a blitz coming to one side, and maybe perhaps that's why he fled a couple of clean pockets there. But that's being real nitpicky on his performance and what he was able to do. They're calling him Kenny Clutch, and man, last few games he definitely has turned that around and been that guy. And Steelers are streaking. They're 7-2 after the bye, going up against the Cleveland Browns, team that has Deshaun Watson, who's been playing the last few games. And although I'm not too worried about him, he has improved. He's shaken off some of that rust. And I'm excited for the Pittsburgh Steelers to take on the Cleveland Browns this week. I'm going to be at that game, be cheering hard. All games that are relevant to the Pittsburgh Steelers will be happening at the same time, meaning the Dolphins versus the Patriots game will be happening at the same time. And it's the Dolphins and the Jets game will be happening at 1 o'clock Eastern. And then also the Buffalo Bills and Patriots game will also be happening at 1 o'clock Eastern on Sunday at the same time as the Pittsburgh Steelers, meaning that this game means something. This team's going to be playing for something. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of scoreboard watching going on, because Pittsburgh Steelers win and Patriots and Dolphins lose. Steelers hit the number 7 seed. And there's a good possibility they go up against Cincinnati in week 1 of the playoffs. And I remember after the last matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals, they had a lot to say because they anticipated they weren't going to see the Pittsburgh Steelers again. I sure do hope we see them again and see what they have to say this time around, because this team's gotten a lot better and they're working together a lot better. I hope we make this. I hope we do. So back to the injury situation. This team's gone very healthy going into this. The only injuries that came out of this last game was Miles Jack. He had a growing injury, wasn't able to finish the game. Minka Fitzpatrick had an ankle injury, got taped up, went back in. Mike Tomlin was pretty confident in that those two gentlemen were going to be able to probably be limited in practice, however, are optimistic about their participation in the game. James Pierre, however, is in concussion protocol, and the way that's been going, I don't think he's going to be available for this game. But outside of that, I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going into this, week 18 matchup, 17th game of the season against the Cleveland Browns, very healthy and trending in the right direction. So in this game, or in this press conference, Mike Tomlin was asked about his comfortability with Mark Robinson. He stated he wasn't comfortable, however, that Mark Robinson brings a certain skill set based on what the opposition loves to do, running the ball, and that they wanted to utilize that skill set because he's a dominant force in that situation. We saw Robert Spillane take another 100% of the defensive snaps. It is in my anticipation, when you see who the Pittsburgh Steelers are playing this upcoming match against the Cleveland Browns with Nick Chubb, that they're probably going to take a similar approach to stop the run. And, I anticipate seeing Robert Spillane out there quite a bit. I anticipate seeing Mark Robinson make a lot more, take another significant step in the right direction to get more snaps. I like what I saw out of him. He was aggressive. He was physical. He found the running back many times. He made a couple mistakes. He had a missed tackle here or there. One in the backfield that J.K. Dobbins was able to get positive yards after. That he had him dead to rights in the backfield. However, he's a 7th-round rookie. He's learning the game. This was his first start, so to speak, and his first real action, significant amount of time with defensive snaps this entire season. And so, he sat the bench for most of the year. I'm sure there was a little bit of rust that, was part of that, maybe anxiousness and, nerves being not out there this entire season. I anticipate him cleaning those things up this upcoming game and being a huge factor. Devin Bush wasn't, I don't even remember seeing him out there. And I think that's the way it should be kept. As far as, going against the Cleveland Browns, Mike Tomlin talked about not just stopping Nick Chubb, but also having to do a better job against Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper, had his way with our defensive backs last time. And the Steelers are going to have to figure out a way to defeat and to neutralize Amari Cooper. He's been a guy that's been able to get open and make plays. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is. And speaking of the quarterback, the Steelers will be going up against Deshaun Watson this time, not Jacoby Brissett. Mike Tomlin was asked about the differences between the two quarterbacks, and his statement was, there are differences between them. They are who they are. However, when it comes to the game plan and the direction that the Cleveland Browns want to go into and the way they have been playing this season, at least with the two quarterbacks, the game plan has stayed the same. The direction in which they want to go is the same. Utilize Nick Chubb, have a successful running game with him, and then utilize the tight end and wide receiver, Amari Cooper, and passing game. And so, the plan is listed in front of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They know what they need to do. It's not going to be a big surprise. This is a division foe. This is a team that the Pittsburgh Steelers are very familiar with. And so this is the kind of game where, you're going to know what the other team is going to be doing. It's going to come down to, can you stop it? And for the Pittsburgh Steelers going into this game as healthy as they are and in the right trajectory, I think they're going to be doing a fantastic job against them. Defensively, he talked about, the defensive backs of Cleveland. However, he mentioned by name Myles Garrett as being, or number 95, as being the focal point of stopping the defense is to neutralize Myles Garrett. And I agree with him. If Cheeks Okorafor can have another game against him, or Dan Moore, because I think they move him around back and forth. If those guys can continue to have a game against him, Myles Garrett hasn't had the greatest of games against the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's not been highlighted like in other games. And so if they can continue to do that, keep Kenny Pickett clean, and Kenny Pickett continue to make the right decisions very few interceptions after the bye. I think he's only had one. And so, and not very many throws that you would, if any at all, to be honest with you, that you would say that he got away with one. He's being very smart with the football and accurate, and you can't take that away from him. But Mike Tomlin assured again, the offense holding onto the ball is going to minimize the fatigue on the opposite side of the field. And that is basically what the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have to do in this game. They're going to have to utilize Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren again and hope that this running game can continue in the trajectory that it's continuing. I'm not sure if the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to rush for almost 200 yards in this game like they did in the last, but over 100, maybe 140, 150 yards, something that is doable and needed for this team. In my opinion, the next big step is punching it into the end zone for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've been able to progress this season, initially with this offense. It's very young, a lot of young players, a lot of new pieces. They weren't, they weren't even moving the ball down the field. It was a bunch of 3 and outs. And so, now they're able to move the ball down the field between the 20s. Let's try to get some of these, these drives in the end zone. And if the Pittsburgh Steelers can do that, I see that this game being a win for the Pittsburgh Steelers by more than 3 points. I'll give you guys my prediction later on this week when we talk about it. From what I can see, the Pittsburgh Steelers have a good opportunity to go into this game and at the very least end the season on a high note, and at the very best potentially see another week of Steelers football. I sure do hope so. I'm going to be at this game. If you guys are going, let me know. Hit me up in the comment section. Love to see many of you guys if you're going to be out there. I believe it's going to be on Sunday at 1 o'clock Eastern. That's all I got for you guys today. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Ring that notification bell. That way you're notified of all of our content. With that being said, I'm Daniel J. This is State of the Steelers. Peace.